You have to learn to be content about who you are, no matter what you experience. Sometimes we tend to tie our identity to our accomplishment because of our circles. Your true identity is hidden on the inside of you. It's not what is happening around you. Hello and welcome back to the Mensimo podcast. My name is Evelyn Kofi and I am glad that you are here again for another episode of the Mensimo podcast. I have to tell you that when I started this platform, this podcast, I just wanted to share my journey. I just wanted to share what I went through, the lessons that I've learned along the way. But today, seeing that some young women are influenced and impacted by my journey and the lesson that I'm sharing on this platform, it really blessed me too. It's showing me that this is something that God is using. This is an instrument that God is using to bless another woman wherever you are. So that is also pushing me to keep recording, to keep posting, and to trust that God is going to use whatever that I will say to bless someone. So I'm blessed and I'm glad that you're here, right? I have to tell you that my week was amazing. I had an amazing week, but I feel like I'm in a season where I am learning about faith and trusting God in the midst of the unknown. You know what I'm talking about when you are finding yourself in that season where you feel like all you have is God, you know, where you feel on the inside of you that the only thing you have right now is God. I have nothing else. And I'm finding myself in this particular season because I've been waiting. I'm still waiting for some things. I'm praying about something that I want to be accomplished in my life, but I feel like I cannot do anything else except trusting God. And sometimes it's hard to just have only one option, when you feel like you don't have the control, you cannot control anything else. The only thing that you have to do is to trust God. And I'm in this season where I'm learning to just be in the presence of God and to surrender to His guidance. So, yeah, I'm still learning about faith, how to trust in God and letting Him do what is He knows the best and letting Him work in my life and showing me His goodness. For me to go through that process is also teaching me that I don't have to figure everything out. Some days I will just have to lean into God and let Him guide me His ways, right? And today we are going to talk about the subject that is somehow related to, what I'm experiencing right now. We are going to talk about our identity and the fact that sometimes when we look at ourselves, we look at our personality, when we look at our behavior, our character, our traits, um, we often look at our accomplishments. If someone comes near you and asks you, can you define you? Can you tell me who you are? And I guess that the first things that you're going to say is my name is blah blah blah, and you start listing your achievements, right? Your awards or your degrees, all of those things. But as I was thinking about it, I asked myself, why do we often start thinking first about our accomplishments when it comes to define ourselves? This is a question that I was asking myself. People tend to define themselves through the lens of their achievements, but I don't believe that this is what God wants for us. When God talks about us in His Word, it doesn't define us through the lens of our achievements. By the way, Jesus came on earth to save us before we did anything. right? I wasn't even born when Jesus came down on earth. So it didn't decide to love me or to define who I was or who I was going to be through the lens of my achievements or through the lens of my decrease or to the lens of my whatever that I can accomplish, right? So I want us to really shift our definition and shift our perception and start having a better perception of ourselves, right? I feel like a lot of people tie their identity to their achievement because most of the time they don't have anything else to help them define themselves except their achievements. It's easier for you to look at your achievement and define yourself. It's easier for you to look at the things that you have done so far in order to define yourself. This is something that is easy to do. But I feel like the fact that we are surrounded by people who often also see us through the lens of what we have been able to do is also something that influence our own perception of ourselves, right? If you spend most of the time, around people who tend to define you to the lens of your grades or the things that you have been able to do, you will also start thinking or telling yourself that, okay, I'm defined by my accomplishments. Right. So the first thing that I wanted to highlight is that sometimes we tend to tie our identity to our accomplishment because of our circles. Also, the fact that you have been able to do something is like a proof. It's like proof of your capacity. And when you have proof of your capacities, you now start telling yourself that this is proof of who I am because I have been able to do this or I have been able to do that, right? But I really wanted us to start looking at ourselves from inside out and not from outside in. I wanted to challenge us to look at ourselves and to tell ourselves what is on the inside of me that truly defines me. What else do you have that defines you? It can be your character, it can be your personality, it can be your intelligence. Those are the things that you should really be looking at. And I feel like those things are more beautiful when you start really looking deep down on the inside of you, you will see wonderful things that God has placed on the inside of you that are way better than your accomplishments. Sometimes your accomplishments can be disconnected from your true personality. I'm going to give you an example. When I was in school, I was getting good grades. I was, among the top student and I was doing well. I was doing pretty well. But when I look at my life back then, I wasn't really feeling good on the inside of me. It was at that time that I was dealing with depression, that I was experiencing, low self-esteem and all of those things. So even though I was getting good grades, I was receiving all the awards and all of those things, I wasn't feeling good on the inside of me. So if I wanted to define myself, I would say I'm a great student, I'm an amazing student, I'm getting good grade at school. But when I look at myself, I wasn't even able to look at myself in the mirror and tell myself that I'm beautiful, that I am wonderful, that I'm a wonderful creature. Why? Because something has hurt me. Someone said something that really hurts me, or because of my relationship with my mom. So all of those things also define me some ways, but I wasn't really digging deeper on the inside of me to see what are the negative part of my identity. So if you want to look at the external things like your accomplishment, you are going to really miss out on the opportunity to have a better understanding of your identity because your true identity is hidden on the inside of you. It's not what is happening around you. Your true identity is hidden on the inside of you. If you want to have a full picture of who you are, just look on the inside of you, look internally, like start thinking about yourself, like really dig deeper into how you think, how you see life, how you perceive people. What is your relationship with your parents, with your friends? What is your relationship with the people that surround you? If you find those answers, you will now have a better picture of yourself. But if you want to look at only external situations, this is just external situation that happens. Do you understand my point? So somehow you have to really decide to look deeper on the inside of you to find your talents, your gifts. Your inner word is an amazing word. I have to tell you that. I remember when I started working on myself and I discovered that I had an amazing inner word. Yes, it was bruised. Yes, I experienced a lot of trauma, a lot of pain. But when I started working on my healing journey, when I started working on myself and making sure that I was doing my best to heal and become a better version of myself, I discovered that I have an amazing inner world. And to, learn to dwell in that inner world, to discover that inner world is an amazing experience. I have to tell you that when I decided to dwell in that inner world, to see that I'm actually an amazing person and to decide to take time to discover what part of myself are still tender, what part of myself are strong. It just helps me to have a better picture and to understand, and it also helps me to learn how to navigate relationships and relate with others. You cannot have better relationship if you don't fully understand yourself. Do you get my point? Talking about achievement, let's talk about success. I know that a lot of us, most of us, we are chasing success. We want to be successful in any area of our life. But the thing is, we had to first have our own definition of a success. I remember that I recorded a video where I was talking about that all of us, we have to have our own definition of success. What does success look like for you? Is it getting a lot of money? Is it getting a job? Is it having your own company? Is it working with the biggest influencers of the world? What the success looks like for you? You have to find the definition. You have to find your own understanding. How do you perceive success? This is so important. And a lot of people tend to, place their identity, or they tend to build their identity on success. The thing is, success is not something that is stable. And your identity, when we talk about identity, you have to make sure that your identity is stable. If you build your identity on something that is unstable, you will end up always thinking that you don't really know yourself because the foundation of your identity is unstable. This is not something that is firm. So that's why I really want to understand that your identity is something that is so important. If you have information about who you are, where you are heading to, make sure that this is stable because people will come, and if they come at you and they ask you who you are, and they feel like you're not sure about who you are, where you are going to, they are going to define you. They are going to tell you who you are. So you have to really make sure that you understand your identity no matter what you're going through, whether you succeed or not. I was talking about success, and success is a great thing, something that is amazing. When you experience success, you feel good about yourself because you feel like you have accomplished something. But your identity goes beyond success. Your identity goes beyond the things that you can do or not do, the things you can succeed at or not succeed at. Your identity is stronger than that. So you have to understand. And I really wanted to help a sister by, telling her how she can really learn how to build her identity, not on her accomplishment, not on the things that she has been able to do so far, but so that she can be really confident in herself and the things that she does. First, I want to give you my testimony. When I did my conference, um I was expecting some people, like a number of people, but the people who decided to come at the event were smaller than the number. Like the number I was expecting was not the people that showed up at my events. And somehow I was disappointed because I felt like I failed. And as I was thinking about it, I was just thinking about the fact that this experience does not define who I am, right? This experience, it is my first conference, and if people didn't show up the way I wanted them to show up, that's okay. But it does not define me. It does not tell me that I fail or I am a failure because I wasn't able to reunite people in order to come to my event, my conference. But I had to understand that it does not define me because people did not show up at my events. It does not define me. So you need to have a word on which you can stand on. Do you get my point? So it can be with the word of God, but even yourself, you need to know yourself well. That's why I was talking about, start getting deeper, go on the inside of you, go on a travel, on a journey, discovering the things that are hidden on the inside of you. And when you will do that, you will learn more about yourself and who you are without the success, without the achievement, and you will learn to be content. And this is the second thing. You have to learn to be content about who you are, no matter what you experience or not. You have to learn to be content. Be content in the money that you have. Be content in the relationships that you have. Be content in the job that you have. Do not envy someone because of what they have. Be proud of yourself. Be proud of the gifts that you have. Be proud of the talents that you have because you are unique of your kind. And there is a reason God sent you on earth. So be proud of the things that you had, even if it's not something that people, recognize or can value right now. But if you keep working on yourself, you see that the world will recognize you and the world will give you the value that you deserve. But for now, you have to learn to be content and be happy with your life. Do not start giving yourself an identity that is a false identity because of the experience that you are going through. That is the third thing. No matter the experience that you have in life, no matter what you experience, your trauma, I've already told you about my experience, low self-esteem or that comparison. Those things, I experienced those things when I was younger, but today come, I had to understand that it does not define me, that I am better than that I am a great woman of God, that God allowed that to happen to me so that I can use it to um, help someone, so that I can use it to talk to someone, to start a podcast, to start a community, to share my journey. So you have to look beyond your pain. You have to look beyond your trauma and start trusting God for your story because if He helps you survive those situations, it will help you to, share your ideas, share your journey. It will help you to become the woman that you want to become. Do you understand my point? So be content and do not let your past define you. That was the topic of my conference, by the way. Your past does not define your future. You should not let your past define your future. You should not let your past define who you are really. Because that person is hidden on the inside of you. And when you start working, taking yourself seriously, working on yourself, you see that, okay, I'm now getting a full picture of the woman that God wants me to become. You get my point? So we are at the end of this episode. I hope that you learned a lot of things. I hope that this episode has been a word from God in order for you to have a solution, an answer that you were looking for about your life. And I hope that you learn to trust God more and you will learn to discover yourself, to discover your inner world so that you can see like God sees you. So thank you for listening or watching again and see you in the next episode. Bye.